Welcome to WBCSD's Climate and Energy Programme Briefing. I'm Sophie Hall, Communications Manager for Climate and Energy, and I'm going to ask our programme leads to tell us about their work in this critical year for climate action. First up, we've got Claire O'Neill, our Managing Director for Climate and Energy. Claire, can you tell us how the Climate and Energy Programme contributes to WBCSD's Vision 2050 and overarching mission?
Thanks, Sophie, and again, a warm welcome to everyone joining us. So many of the people watching this will have been on a multi-year journey with WBCSD and will have seen how the importance of solving the biggest problem many of us believe we are facing, this unstoppable rise in greenhouse gases, has been at the core of what WBCSD and our members have now done for over 25 years. And I think many of us know that the things we've worked on historically, whether it was designing the greenhouse gas protocol, whether it was working with many of you in terms of improving your uptake of renewable energy, or indeed working now on new areas like the fascinating SOS 1.5 Pathfinder, these are the core questions that you are being asked all the time in the boardrooms of your various companies. And for us, you can see our strategy on there. We're about climate recovery. We're about using our membership criteria, our cross-WBCSD collaboration, and our networks and partnerships to really reduce greenhouse gases, remove them, and ensure our members can adapt to the environments that we end up in, really focused on climate recovery. And I guess the way it links to the Vision 2050 is this, in some ways, is the best articulated challenge that the whole economic system is facing, whether we are private companies, individuals, governments, and actually really driving that sphere of action and ambition forward faster, using the ambitions of the private sector, pushing forward on that pathway towards Vision 2050 is the reason that many companies originally joined WBCSD, and it's obviously a fundamental part of how we will get to our Vision 2050.
And how is WBCSD's Climate and Energy Programme accelerating climate recovery globally?
Well, I think it would be safe to say if you speak to our members, we have some of the most ambitious organisations anywhere on the planet in terms of their own commitments to a net zero strategy, or in some cases, a carbon neutral strategy. 2050 for many companies is the absolute end point at which they want to be at that state. And for us, it's about taking that driver of WBCSD membership action and using it to accelerate the whole flywheel of change, whether it's putting upward pressure on policymakers to make sure that they're delivering the right policy framework for renewable energy, whether it's working with our companies to ensure that their value chains, their suppliers, their competitors are all able to share their emissions data, and whether it's working with other parts of the system, the civil society, again, to make sure that these necessary changes are communicated. So for us, it's about really working with our members, with your ambitious strategies, and really using that power of collective action to drive the whole decarbonisation system faster.
Thanks, Claire. Next up, we have Carl Veller, who leads our climate policy programme at WBCSD. Carl, how does WBCSD's climate and energy policy work raise ambition towards achieving the Paris Agreement goals?
Thanks, Sophie, and hi everyone. Yes, our work in WBCSD's climate and energy workstream is really focused on bringing the progressive business voice into the major moments around the world. Among these, on climate change, we have the UNFCCC process, which is the UN climate change process, and the major moments such as the COP. We work inside the Marrakesh Partnership for Global Climate Action, and we also bring the business voice into major political processes like the G20 and G7. Alongside these, there are also major ad hoc summits that come up throughout the year, where we are tasked to bring the voice of business and to position our members in these major moments. This year in particular, 2021, we will mobilize business ambition and actions towards COP26 and the race to zero. And we've developed a new program of work called the Green Brick Road to support our members' engagement on the road to COP26. In terms of influence, our aim is to develop and deliver climate policy asks from business to policymakers. We develop strategy and messaging for our climate policy engagement with our members and partners, including aspects related to COVID-19 response and green recovery. On leadership, our aim is to bring WBCSD's position in major coalitions as a leading global partner and the business voice. We work in particular with major coalitions like the We Business Coalition and the Marrakesh Partnership, Through these coalitions, for example, WBCSD leads the international policy work of the We in Business Coalition, as well as the industry thematic track under the Marrakesh Partnership. And these platforms provide the opportunity for WBCSD member companies to shape the global agenda on corporate action to tackle the climate change challenge. And finally, on the race to zero, we aim to co-create 1.5 degree aligned policy briefs and reports on important climate change related topics, such as carbon markets, natural climate solutions, energy transition, and decarbonization policies. Through this, we deliver messages related to COVID-19 and economic crisis response through the lens of climate change and race to zero. We also facilitate knowledge sharing on the latest climate change developments with our members and use our climate policy working group to develop the strategy that aims to bring our members into these important moments. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Carl. We're now going to move on and hear from Sobi Sinwi, who leads our energy solutions work in India. Sobi, how is WBCSD's Energy Solutions project driving the global energy system transformation?
Thanks, Sophie. Hello, everyone. The global energy system transformation will address 70% of the GHG emissions from energy demand and supply sectors. And it's not only emissions, it'll have wider socioeconomic impacts, including economic growth, environmental protection, as well as livelihood and well-being of people. Through our Energy Solutions project, we support companies to progress their own energy transition and play a leading role in delivering an affordable, reliable, and net zero carbon energy system in line with limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We do this through two main levers. The first one is on business strategies, where we empower energy users from all industries and energy providers to design and implement ambitious energy-related business strategies through our dedicated guides and peer-to-peer exchanges. Under our work stream on integrated energy strategies, which is mainly for energy users, we inspire and empower businesses to devise sustainable energy strategies for all their energy use by mobilizing stakeholders from across business functions and their energy-related value chains. Our work stream on sustainable energy supply convenes a global sustainability platform of energy companies to support them to rethink their strategies to achieve positive impact towards the sustainable development goals and help them in reducing emissions in line with the 1.5 degrees Celsius target. The second lever is on technology solutions, where we help companies advance deployment of sustainable energy solutions through capacity building and promotion of innovative business models, bringing together the entire value chain. Our work stream on scaling renewable electricity brings together energy users and suppliers to tackle barriers and increase their corporate renewable energy sourcing. Through our work on heating and cooling, we support our members to deploy renewable solutions for heat of up to 400 degrees Celsius, as well as cooling across various use cases and sectors. As part of our work on low carbon hydrogen, we support our members to scale up the development of low carbon hydrogen technologies by promoting a technology neutral low carbon hydrogen standard. And that's not all. As companies are ramping up their ambition and action when it comes to driving the energy system transformation, we are also exploring new initiatives and areas of work, including collaborating for coal phase out, carbon capture, use and storage technologies, and resilience of power systems. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sobi. I'd now like to introduce John Revis, our Director for Net Zero Transformation at WBCSD. John, how does WBCSD's SOS 1.5 project help business to scale climate action?
Thanks, Sophie. We're a global cross-value chain business coalition facilitating collaboration to accelerate and unlock decarbonisation solutions in order to limit the Earth's temperature rise to 1.5 degrees, a safe operating space. SOS 1.5 is for all companies, for all sectors, no matter which stage they are at along the decarbonisation journey. We mobilise our members to create the scale needed to transform their business and their value chains to achieve net zero by 2050. The project follows the SOS 1.5 roadmap published last year and is designed around two work streams, helping companies to firstly accelerate their journey, where we convene a space for genuine collaboration and support companies in developing roadmaps and targeted actions to deliver net zero by 2050. We mobilise their value chain and supply chains in the same direction. Secondly, through enhancing global standards and metrics, we examine the real challenges that members face to measure, track and report emissions, particularly Scope 3. Collectively, we gather a set of recommendations to standard-setting bodies to enable companies to efficiently measure and report reliable, credible and comparable carbon footprints. As an example of this, we recently led a WBCSD response to the public consultation launched by the Science Based Targets Initiative on net zero standards criteria. This response has represented the collective voice of over 65 of our members. SOS 1.5 also hosts Pathfinders, places to incubate climate innovation. Our value chain carbon transparency Pathfinder, which launched a few weeks back, is dedicated to enable the wide-scale exchange of primary carbon emissions data. The Pathfinder methodology will build on and improve existing emissions reporting standards to increase consistency, granularity, and integration of emissions data, which is key to achieving carbon transparency at the scale needed to meet the Paris Agreement goals. Secondly, we're developing a unique technical infrastructure, so the Pathfinder will set standards for operability between company and industry level solutions, enabling all businesses to advance consistent and the safe exchange of emissions data towards their goals of achieving net zero. And lastly, we're starting with fast-moving consumer goods, but WBCSD is now working to extend the Pathfinder into new, connected and independent sectors, building a genuine cross-sector ecosystem committed to carbon transparency.
Thanks very much, John. And now, staying on the theme of climate action, we're going to hear from our colleague James Smith, who leads WBCSD's Natural Climate Solutions work. James, how does our Natural Climate Solutions project accelerate investments for climate and nature goals?
Thanks, Sophie. Rapidly scaling up investment in natural climate solutions is crucial if we're to meet the Paris Agreement goals. They have the potential to provide up to 1/3 of the cost-effective emissions reductions needed by 2030, whilst at the same time delivering substantial benefits for nature and people. Investments in natural climate solutions can reduce a company's greenhouse gas footprint or neutralize and compensate for residual and hard to abate emissions, and are therefore critical in facilitating a private sector transition to net zero, whilst conserving biodiversity and delivering positive social impacts. It is the goal of the project to catalyze this investment potential from the private sector through net zero towards nature for climate. The Natural Climate Solutions project pursues this goal through 3 work streams. Firstly, the Natural Climate Solutions Alliance is a coalition of companies and civil society organizations dedicated to deliver a multi-billion-dollar scale-up of NCS markets needed to support global decarbonization by 2050. But scaling these markets requires that safeguards are in place to ensure that natural climate solutions deliver co-benefits for nature and people, and that the use of natural climate solutions does not distract from internal decarbonization. And so the Alliance is generating best practice guidance for companies in what high quality natural climate solutions look like and how companies can credibly integrate natural climate solutions into their corporate climate strategies. The Alliance is committed to raising the profile of natural climate solutions, particularly in the run-up to COP26, and will launch a new private sector demand campaign to raise corporate ambition and demonstrate private sector leadership. We are also building the knowledge and capacity of WBCSD members to invest in natural climate solutions through our internal working group. One of our work streams focuses on insetting, or investing in natural climate solutions within the supply chain. Insetting represents a really compelling opportunity for member companies, particularly those in the land sector, to decarbonize, whilst also developing resilient supply chains. Our work will provide clarity on insetting definitions, on activities, and on the greenhouse gas accounting that is required to help members overcome challenges to implementation. We're also looking to develop standardized frameworks for the transparent and consistent reporting of NCS impacts, and thereby help to de-risk investment and facilitate due diligence processes. Finally, WBCSD is also leading a land sector update to the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, the leading standard for corporate carbon accounting and reporting. This vital update will provide companies with the rules on how to account for, set targets, and track performance of both natural and technological carbon removals, and on land use and on bioenergy. The update will create consistency and transparency across countries, companies, and sectors, and is critical to help WBCSD members make informed decisions on implementing and accounting for natural climate solutions activities and how to mitigate their climate impact. Thanks, Sophie.
Thanks very much, James. And finally, to wrap us up, Claire, coming back to you. In the critical months ahead to COP26, what are the big priorities for the Climate and Energy Programme in 2021?
Thanks, Sophie. Well, I think hopefully we can see from the great overviews from John, from Serbi, from James and from Carl, who are just a subsection of the incredible climate and energy team, just how much work is going on in all of our work areas. And we want to continue that level of momentum with our members. We know that your numbers are growing. We know that it's really important that all of us get to grips with this net zero challenge. But of course, we have the particular proof point of COP26 coming up hopefully in November this year. And of course, there are still questions about what form that will take in a post-COVID world. But that is acting as a real accelerator to all of this work. So for us, we think it's most important that we act collectively. We work to make sure our members are as well informed as they can possibly be about what's happening at the COP. Indeed, we've designed a process called the Green Brick Road, which we hope you will walk down with us, where we can work on decoding the COP and working out the most important action areas for us all. And so that will be a huge priority for us. But of course, there are other challenges that are starting to emerge, particularly around the carbon removal space. And so we will be speaking later in this LD programme about some of the new opportunities, some of the new frontiers that we'd like to explore with members. So I think it's going to be an action-packed year. We do have this COP in whatever form it will be as the sort of end point. But of course, the work can't just be focused on COP. It needs to continue. And ultimately, you know, we've all been on this WBCSD journey for variable periods of time, but WBCSD is the place where we work out how to achieve these sustainability goals. So we're looking forward to continuing to solve those problems with you, both for this action-packed year, but for many years to come. And thanks again.